Governor's announcements. I'm just so proud of Yavapai County and our city and all that we've done to make sure that we're prepared. And I just want to celebrate our folks, our citizens, just really being patient and making sure that sick people are staying home. We're all washing our hands and singing happy birthday, right? Twice when we do it. And so I'm just very proud of our community and just want to make that announcement. So thank you very much. So we will go ahead and have our invocation.
Let's pray. Father, we thank you that you are willing to be in the midst of people, to give to us wisdom and strength. We thank you for your grace in giving to us government to care for our citizens. And we pray for your blessing upon this meeting. We pray for your wisdom upon those who speak and deliberate. And we pray for these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Councilman Shiska.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Perkins. Thank you. Okay, can we have our roll call, please?
Yes. Mayor Pro Tem Orr,
Here.
Councilman Blair,
Yes.
Councilman Good,
Here.
Councilmember Rusing,
Present.
Councilwoman Scholl, here, Councilman Sishka,
Here.
and the record will reflect that Mayor Mangarelli is excused from the meeting.
Thank you. And today is a big day for our Citizens Academy. It is our 5th class. So I'm going to ask Tyler Goodman to come up and say a little bit about the Citizens Academy.
Absolutely. For those who may not know, the Citizens Academy has been going on for about a year and a half now. We've had 5 classes, about 25 members in each class, and it's an opportunity for members of the community to hear from our city departments, city leadership, get to know all about how the city functions. And it's an 8-class academy over 8 weeks, and it's been a great thing for, I think, our residents and our citizens. So we like to thank all those who have participated. I see many friendly faces here to be recognized, and Linda Nichols as well is here, who helped form it in the beginning, and we're excited to recognize everyone.
And our next class, Tyler?
Yes, our next class, which could be unfortunate, is full. So and that's May through June, but we have a waiting list. If anyone's interested in signing up, you can go to our city website, just search Citizens Academy, and you'll see all the steps to apply. We also have a class in September that'll go through the end of October, and that is currently mostly empty. There's still some people on that list as well. So please apply if you'd like.
Thank you. So now we would like to call up our graduates, and I would tell you none of this would happen if it wasn't for Tyler Goodman. And Michael Lamar that loaned us Tyler to get this done. Tyler's the one that ushers this throughout, so thank you. So I'm just going to call your names. I usually give you a hug, but no hug today. So Yvonne Gibbs. Congratulations, Yvonne. Would you like to come up here and we'll do a picture? Absolutely. Ellen Becker. Okay. Thank you. Eva Holm. Thank you. And Jerry Holm. Congratulations. Jerry, congratulations. You're welcome. Marguerite Kinsella. We just, and we're going to do it today, boards and appointments, I will tell you, we had more applications this year than we've had in a long time, and I really do credit our Citizens Academy. Marguerite, thank you so much. Charlie Knotts. Congratulations, Charlie. You're welcome. Diane Emmerich. Congratulations, Diane. You're welcome. Kathy Conair. Congratulations, Kathy. Kimberly Telliard. Kimberly? Congratulations. Barry Barb? I think he's at Carnegie Hall, isn't he, with our, yes. Thank you. Well, please come on up with us. And your name? Thank you. Oh, Jim, thank you. Hello, Jim. Congratulations. Amanda Janacek. What a nice class, Tyler. You were a great professor. Here you go, Amanda. Congratulations. Darla Parnham. And Larry Parnham. Congratulations. There you go, Larry. Thank you. Sue Ann Anderson. Thank you, Sue Ann. Harvey Perry. No? Tyler, thank you. Pat Scribner. Hello, Pat. Congratulations. Lee Perry. Wendy Anderson. Congratulations. And Claire Oberst. Hello, Claire. Congratulations. Caroline Cook. Congratulations. And Richard Lachtenberger. Did I do that pretty good, Richard? I hope so. and he is also, I said Richard, I'm sorry, Ralph. Ralph is also one of our ambassadors here at City Hall. Does a great job welcoming people and directing them. Congratulations, Ralph. Lois Furworth. Congratulations, Lois. You're welcome. And Renee Grogine. Wow, what a class, right? Here we go, Renee. Tyler, if you'll join us for the picture, and congratulations to everybody for a job well done. Congratulations. Thank you. So we don't do tests and we don't do GPAs, but I'll tell you, these are all top graduates, and we feed them dinner every time we meet, so it's pretty nice. All right, so we'll move on now to our consent agenda. Okay, do I have a motion?
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve consent agenda items 7A through 7D.
Second.
Sarah, did anyone pull anything off? No.
Nothing was pulled.
All right, so please vote.
Passes 6-0.
Very good, thank you. Now we move on to our consent ordinance. Sarah, are you going to read those? Or
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you.
Adoption of ordinance number 2020-1710 of the Mayor and Council of the City of Prescott, authorizing the granting of a utility easement to Arizona Public Service Company and Arizona Corporation, and authorizing the mayor and staff to execute any and all documents to effectuate said easement. Item B, adoption of ordinance number 2020-1711 of the Mayor and Council of the City of Prescott, authorizing the purchase of real property and easements from Lee Property Investments LLC, Rocco and Shirley Anacini, PB Holdings LLC, William A. and Carol J. Kenson Revocable Trust, and Wapiti LLC for the Corsair Avenue Connector Project, and authorizing the mayor and staff to execute any and all documents to effectuate said purchases and easements.
Thank you. Do I have any comments or questions from the council? Can we have a motion, please?
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to adopt consent ordinance items 8A and 8B.
Second.
Please vote.
Councilman Blair? Passes 6-0.
All right, very good. Now we'll move on to our regular agenda, and we have item A.
Appointment of members to the Acker Trust Board, Advisory and Appeals Board, Art and Public Places Committee, Board of Adjustment, CDBG, Citizens Advisory Committee, Library Advisory Board, Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee, Planning and Zoning Commission, Prescott Preservation Commission, and Tourism Advisory Committee.
Very good. Councilman Shiska, you are the chair of the appointment committee. Would you like to welcome those folks on board?
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Folks, you on the boards of our boards and commissions, you are the lifeblood of the city. We really appreciate your full due diligence on those boards. And so I would like to announce for the Acker Board Trust, or the Acker Trust Board, John Berry, Michael Getty. Would you come up, please? Sherry Hanna, Haley Knight, and Linda Nichols. For the Advisory and Appeals.
Steve, before you go ahead, so Sarah, should we approve each one as we go, each board, or do you want to go all the way through all 10
Do
boards?
it all in one, and then I can swear in all members at
All
the
right.
same time. And once I'm done with that portion, I'll have you exit out here and meet Jennifer Wida in the hallway, and she'll have you sign your oaths and give you some paperwork as well. Okay.
Thank you.
For the Advisory and Appeals Board, it's a 3-year term. Constance can tell me. Connie, you here? Okay. Larry Meads. Anne Marie Taylor. And George Sheets. For the Board of Adjustment, a 3-year term. Mary Fredrickson. Larry Meads. Anthony Teeters. For the Community Development Block Grant Citizens Advisory Committee, they're a 2-year term. Tom Benson. Sandy Griffiths. Yay. YCCA girl. Robert Painter. John Roca. Deborah Savoini. Christy Snyder. Hi, Deb. Marianne Suttles. And for the Library Advisory Board, 2-year terms, Richard Cady, Diane Catlin, Mary Jo Dean, Lois Mar Fruworth. Did I say that right? Good enough. Good enough. Good enough just isn't. I don't know where that came from.
Yeah, really.
Alma Howell. Jennifer Knight. And Michael Roth Miller. And that's all.
No, we have the tourism.
Oh,
You have Parks and
Reservation.
Recreation,
there's
Planning and
another
Zoning.
page, too. I tell you what. That's all right. I'm just a councilman. Parks and Rec Advisory Board, 2-year terms. Sherry Hanna, Deborah Miller, Linda Nichols again, Peg Travers, and Chris Wellborn. For the Tourism Advisory Committee, TAC, 3-year terms. Steve Brissetti, Matthew Broussard, Margot Christensen. Come on down, Margot. Robert Combs, and Cindy Gresser. So correct me if I'm cutting this short again. Planning and Zoning Commission, 4-year terms. Thomas Hutchinson, Don Michaelman, George Sheets, Ken Maverick. Prescott Preservation Commission, 3-year terms. Rob Johnson, Robert Burford, and Michael Mirko.
Excellent. Thank you, Councilman
That's all.
Shiska.
Finally.
Thank you. So, no. No, it was not. It was on our.
All right. Well, at some point, you're going to have to make a motion, so.
So, what are there people that have been appointed at Arts and Public Places that they'll just come forward? And then we need a motion.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to appoint members and chairpersons and vice chairpersons to various boards, commissions, and committees in accordance with the Council Subcommittee on Appointments recommendations in Attachment A.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Please, please vote.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you all very much. And so now we'll swear you in. Do you want to do that here, Sarah? Or out there?
We'll
Okay.
do it right here. Need everybody to raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear. That I will support and defend. The Constitution of the United States. And the Constitution and laws. Of the State of Arizona. That I will bear true faith and allegiance. To the same. And defend them. Against all enemies. Foreign and domestic. And that I will well and faithfully. Discharge the duties. Of a city of Prescott. Board or commission member. According to the best of my ability. So I do affirm.
Thank you. Councilman Shiska is so correct. These folks are the lifeblood of our city. Our city could not begin to do what it does without these boards and commissions and all of these volunteers, the chairs and the vice chairs that give endless hours year after year to these boards and commissions. So we really appreciate their work. This is a big opportunity for our city to say thank you. Now we will move on to our legislative agenda. When will this legislation be over? This just
Hopefully soon.
soon, yes.
It's day 58,
All
I
right.
think, of the session, and it's a 100-day session unless they extend it.
We're getting there.
Yeah. Mayor Pro Tem Council, I'm Tyler Goodman from the City Manager's Office. I'll try to run through this quickly. We continue to talk about the regional park appropriation from Representative Campbell. That is still awaiting floor action, and most likely it's awaiting budget discussion since it is that time of the session. I would suspect that they are working on those budget numbers behind the scenes. Once budget bills are brought forward, this bill will probably begin to move, or it will just receive allocation based on what budget they determine. So we'll see. Same with the gas tax bill. I suspect that's the same, but it's still awaiting some floor action. And then we're keeping an eye on the hotshot funding, ensuring that's in the budget, as well as airport funding through the Aeronautics Division of ADOT. Jumping down, short-term rental bills, one of them failed. House Bill 2875, which was Kavanaugh's bill, failed 25 to 35. This is the one that kind of tried some interesting things, monitors on Wi-Fi and noise levels, just to ensure that there weren't party houses or houses that were overoccupied. I don't think a lot of legislators liked how deeply that started to infringe on what people were doing, and so it failed. But the first bill, Senate Bill 1154, we've talked about this several times. This is Senator Brophy McGee's bill. It is awaiting floor action. It passed out of its committees. But basically, this is the one that says any property beyond a primary and one additional property, or those properties that are owned by corporate entities, cannot be short-term rentals. So it's really trying to hone it in. It still allows people flexibility to have short-term rentals, but just not a ton as investment properties. It also puts a cap on, for example, an apartment complex, how many units could be rented out as short-term rentals, and it caps that at 25%. This has, I think, a lot more likelihood to pass, and it's making progress, so we're keeping an eye on it. House Bill 2313 with the fire sprinklers. I know we've talked about this with staff in the city this week. This would prohibit us from requiring installation of sprinklers in certain buildings, restaurants, bars, nightclubs mostly, and those that have occupancy exceeding 300 and that serve alcohol. If the owner decided to do some major renovations, then we could step in and require it. Speaking with staff, that probably affects 15 to 20 buildings in Prescott. So I would expect that the impact is a lot greater in those cities in Maricopa County, but it's still something that takes away from the city's ability to regulate that, and especially for public health and safety. Senate Bill 1459, private attorney retention. This one has been amended pretty much to the satisfaction of the League of Cities. They're trying to get feedback from the member cities. If you have any feedback for me, I would take it and bring it back to them. The amendments offered would remove the provision to seek approval from the AG's office before we get into any private attorney retention contracts, as well as allowing for us to be plaintiffs in class action lawsuits, which were really the two biggest things that the League of Cities was worried about. So there have been amendments proposed. If they're accepted and it moves forward with that, generally I think the League would be supportive, but please let me know if you think otherwise. Jumping down, PSPRS, the cancer presumption bill. Like I mentioned 2 weeks ago, it passed the Senate. It's still awaiting a House assignment, so it hasn't progressed any in the last 2 weeks. But I'm suspecting that it'll start moving again here in the next week or two. And then the PSPRS expenditure limitations also is at the same spot as it was 2 weeks ago, but it'll probably start moving forward here. A lot of this has been because there's been a lot of floor action on other things, and so it's probably just being kind of put to the side for the moment. TPT, the 2348 bill on residential rentals. This is still being held in rules as it was 2 weeks ago, but this would make it so that cities couldn't levy a residential rental tax to more than 5%. Currently ours is 2.75. The concern is that if you start messing with this number, it can be amended very easily to say, well, now it's 2%, well, then it's 1%, and they could easily do that. So bills like this we try to avoid. And then prime contracting, I talked about this a couple weeks ago as well. It appears to be dead for the session, changing those definitions of point of sale, prime contracting, which is a good thing. And good news as well, House Bill 2843, which came up as a surprise, and I reported on it for the first time 2 weeks ago. It's already dead for the session, which is great news. It won't undo all the hard work that we and others have put in for so long to try to get things rolling with it being at the state level. We are keeping a close eye on it because you never do know how these things can crop up again, but it appears to be gone for now. And then finally, Senate Bill 1335. This is tours and marketing authorities. This is something that Barry Aarons talked about before the session began. It would basically allow transient lodging businesses to petition the city as a group to say we, within a geographical area, would like to assess a per room, per customer fee, which would be collected and then used for tourism promotion and marketing. And it would require at least 67% of those businesses within that proposed area to approve it. That passed out of the Senate overwhelmingly and is going over to the House. And with that, Mayor Pro Tem, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any comments from council? I would just like to say that the SB 1335, the tourism marketing, I think would be very helpful to communities. So hopefully we'll see that continue to progress. Very good. Thank you, Tyler.
You're welcome.
As always, and thank you for following these. I appreciate it. So we're on to our next item, item C.
Approval of purchase for 2 archway signs in the Whiskey Row Alley in an amount not to exceed $61,250.
Mayor and Council, Tyler Goodman from the City Manager's Office. I apologize I didn't have this ready before. Let me do some things here. Pull up some. Okay. Okay. This item is for the approval of 2 archway signs to be placed in the Whiskey Row Alley in the amount not to exceed $61,250. The Tourism Advisory Committee, approved the use of $40,000 out of bed tax for this, and the remaining $21,250 would come out of the Streets Fund. As you know, we've been working on the Whiskey Row Alley improvement for the better part of last year and coming into this year. A mural was dedicated last December. A ribbon cutting was held, and that's been great. We've tried a few things to clean it up and get it ready. We're also still planning on string lights. That's been pushed off a little bit because of internal staffing shortages within the division that would have done that for us. So we're looking at doing that by the end of this fiscal year, as well as we've talked about in the past, neon light signs that would be in conjunction with these archway signs. We're looking at bringing that next fiscal year in order to budget it out and do this in phases. But with this particular project, again, it would be the 2 archway signs at the entrance. This is showing it from the Goodwin side. There'd be another at the Gurley side, so both for the entrance and exit. This is all to help improve and enhance our public right-of-way through here, as well as the parking garage. And this is a rendering. This is not exactly how it would look, but it can give you a good size or an idea of size, dimensions, placement. I have another more specific drawing that goes to what the archway may look like itself with the lettering. And then we have engineering that has been done. So we have all the specifications needed. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Let's see, number 6, that's Councilman Blair.
Oh, I didn't even know I turned it on. Just one quick question. Understanding that's a delivery alley, I'm assured that those signs have been generated high enough where semis can get through without tearing them down the first time through.
They're about 16 feet clearance at the lowest level.
Is that going to be the same way with the lights?
Correct. The lights will be even higher. I think they're 25 feet
Right.
in height, for the garbage trucks.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Councilman Good?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Chief Light, if you could respond to this, because I know when I first saw this design, when it was originally proposed, my concern is that this could have been engineered as a potentially hinged or a breakaway type of arch, so that potentially if you have your ladder truck in there dealing with a fire emergency of some sort, making sure that not having to have it precisely positioned so it doesn't interact with that arch and potentially ripping it apart or reducing the ability for your ladder truck to get in there. I don't know why we couldn't have had that consideration. I think you said originally that you didn't see any possibility, but maybe you can answer that.
Yeah, we've spoke through this with our public works components along with our fleet folks. Our overall height will fulfill the 16-foot clearance that's afforded by the arch. So a breakaway sign is not really necessary. And once we're clear of that, then we're uninhibited from raising any sort of ladder. The likelihood of a ladder being placed at the location of the signs themselves is remote at best. So the concern has been alleviated, and I don't see this as presenting any challenges
You're
for
right
us.
at that corner with the alley and Gurley, and you've got the St. Michael Hotel there, which is what, 4-story.
4-story.
I mean, I was at the men's forum meeting yesterday and watching a delivery truck come through that alley, and you could see it well above the level of the first floor windows. So depending on what the potential fire emergency might be, having to precisely position that ladder truck to make sure when you elevate the ladder, it's not going to come in contact with it seems like a potential safety issue. Getting it under the arch, I understand it. That's not a problem.
Right. Even raising it, the likelihood of us placing a ladder in the alleyways because the way the ladder rotates is probably less from a tactical perspective, would give us very little tactical advantage. Most of the ladder placements would occur from the Montezuma side of that particular block anyways. Fire trucks can put ladders up, ground ladders along that line. But I really don't have any reservations about, from an operational or tactical perspective, of being able to offer our darndest should a fire occur and be able to approach it from a safe perspective for our men and women as well as the citizens at risk.
Well, as long as it's been thoroughly considered, that was my only concern.
Understand, and I feel very comfortable. We were part of the initial conversation about this. We've continued to participate, and I have full confidence that this will not inhibit our ability to perform our work.
All right, thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Councilwoman Show.
Thank you. Tyler, will this be lit up at night?
Currently, we don't have any plans for the archways themselves to be lit up, but with the string lights, as well as if we go ahead and do the neon boot concept we've talked about next fiscal year, there will be some lighting around it, very close to it.
Okay.
Right. Any other comments? So Tyler, what's the timeline?
Timeline is at least several months for fabrication. So I would suspect that by the end of this fiscal year, we could have them up in conjunction with the string lights that we've talked about as well.
Would be nice to get those lights up before summer. Would be good.
It would.
I know. Been waiting for it a while, right, Tyler?
Yes.
All right. Can we have a motion, please?
Mayor Pro Tem, move to approve the purchase of 2 archway signs in the amount not to exceed $61,250.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 6-0.
Very good. Congratulations, Tyler. It's a
Thank you
great
all.
project. So we'll move on now to item E. I'm sorry, item D.
Presentation from consultant Jim Robb regarding economic development services and approval of city contract number 2017-260A6, amendment number 6 to city contract number 2017-260 with the Robb Group LLC for economic development services in an amount not to exceed $52,000.
Hello, Mr. Robb. How are you, Jim? Oh, I'm good. It's good to see you. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
I appreciate this. As most of you know, I get to talk about my passion in the front of you, so I appreciate this. We're going to go through the slides, but there's a couple things I want to do because I thought I had 2 hours, and
You don't, Jim.
Tyler said 10 minutes, and so I have to figure out how to deal with this. I've got some good news today, but I want to get into a couple things. So, first of all, everybody hears me talk. You always hear me talk about startups. You hear me talk about innovation and technology and high-paying jobs in our community. There's one thing I want to make clear today when we first start. Anybody that has the courage to do a startup, I don't care what business it is, should be respected. So when you hear me talk about technology startups, I want to really understand that anybody in our community that does a startup, that starts a restaurant, any kind of business that goes out, use their 401k, they use their own money to start something, takes courage.
And so I never, ever want to demean anybody that has that courage to go out and do that. And I wanted to make that up front because you're going to hear me talk about technology now and what does that mean to our community. This presentation is available for everyone. I have some other data that I want to go through a little bit, and then I'm going to get to the good news of some latest meetings and what are the at the end of the day, what are the results, how do the jobs come, and what does it mean to the community? And I can get into that. So, Sir Tyler, click it, baby. We're going to go through, I'm going to make this really fast on some of these slides, and I'm not trying to make slide of them, but it goes into a business tech kind of an ecosystem. And to go through all that with you on these slides, you'd probably kill me. So let's go to next slide, please. So basically what I'm trying to say here, that a business ecosystem for our technologies starts with our community. So there's three things that I try to do. One, what is what I call organic, and that means startups, technology, and innovation from our existing citizens and students. That could come from high schools, that can come from the community college, and that can come from colleges. The second piece of that is retention of the businesses that we have. And then the third component of that is business attraction for those businesses and technologies companies that we want. So an example would be what we're doing today. If you look at what Phoenix is doing and you look what the rest of the country's doing, they're doing I call a shotgun blast. So how do I get Amazon to move 5,000? You have 5,000 employees or down in the valley, Intel, billion-dollar companies. What we're trying to do here is, one, protect our culture. Two, protect our citizens that want to stay here and have good paying jobs. So it's a little bit different of how I'm approaching this versus how you would approach this in the valley or in major communities. And with the advent of our 4 colleges and universities. So I'm going to go to the next slide, please. And then that's just all about how great I am, and I think we'll leave that one alone. So there is a process and a methodology. And what I mean by this is, if you look at what I've done for businesses and now converted that to cities, to give you an example, laying the foundation is the key, and that's really what I've been doing for really the last year and a half, is laying that foundation to get the pieces done. So when I go away, it doesn't die. So if we look at that as an example, would be one of the companies I worked with went from 47 million to 15.6 billion. It's a publicly traded company. Another one I did went from 1 million to 150 million in less than 2 years, which resulted in an IPO. Why is that important? It's not about me. What it says is that foundation that was laid is that those companies could grow. So if we take a look at the foundation we want to put in place in our community for our colleges, universities, and our businesses, what is that foundation, and how does that interact with what we want to accomplish? And that's part of that. So Tyler, you can hit it again. This one, I brought this up, and I have a study here that it's available to anyone. And this was done in 2018. It's an economic summit that was put on over in Prescott Valley. There were different mayors from all over the country, and the Rodney Jenkins and Richard Hernandez from the Yavapai Regional Development Center put this up. When I went through this report, this is what got my heart started. And what it basically says is, if we take a look at the near poverty level in Prescott, 21% of not our retirees but our working people are getting paid at near poverty level. That's what got me going. The other thing that was very interesting in this report, and again, I will give this to anybody that wants it. 35% of our citizens commute over 50 miles for work. So if we take a look at that, that's kind of telling us something that, hey, wait a minute, what's the imbalance here, and why is that happening? And let me just say one other thing as we go through this real fast. My whole life, I wanted to live in a town like Prescott, a place like Bend, Oregon. I lived in New York, I lived in Los Angeles, I lived in Seattle. I hated it. I always wanted to get back. And one of the things that dawned on me at 3 o'clock this morning was, and no disrespect, but our retirees that are coming here, they now have their pensions, they now have their Social Security, they have their nest egg, and they can move here because they want to live here. I was thinking about our citizens that live here and our young people that would like to stay here and they can't find a good job. I'm going to make one thing that happened to me. We started an organization, and I'll get through that. It's called Northern Arizona Technology Alliance. We want to interface with the Commerce Authority, and we want to interface with the AZ Tech Council and the rest of Arizona to connect us. And I went to what's called the Prescott IT Roundtable. And these are about 40 IT professionals in our community. And one of the person that started it invited me, and we had our coffee, and he said, Jim, really nice meeting you, and I'm glad that you started NATA. We're so excited about what you're doing for our technology community. Here was the kicker. He said, I'm sorry I won't be able to come to any more of these. I said, why? He said, I can't find a job. I lost my job about 10 months ago. I'm leaving tomorrow for Boulder, Colorado. I sat there and I looked at that and I went, wait a minute. This is not right. And so with this that's going on and understanding, we have to figure out how to help our citizens stay here. And we have to help those young people that want to live here stay here. So next slide, please. So anyhow, I had the Regional Economic Development Center for Yavapai College. So here is what, because you got to have goals. And after you lay a foundation, where's the meat, right? So at the end of the day, I had them run this report, which is available to everybody. And what I said was, if we had 300 jobs, and the state of Arizona says that a high-paying job is 60,000. And what I have in some of these reports and the other report is, if you'd like to know the number one employer in our area, it's government, and the government average is about 62,000. Once you get out of government jobs, you go to healthcare, it's about 52. And then you get into retail and you get into accommodations that you're down to $23,000. And so the high water mark, the only thing that hit it was government. So at the end of the day, I said, let's run and see what happens if we have 300 high-paying jobs at 85,000. This report goes into extreme detail. So it goes into what really happens with that community. And when you get to the $98 million in total compensation, actual to the community is around $500 million. And when I say 300 of the people that we want or maintaining the people that we have, we can do that. And I will, again, this report is available for anyone that's interested. Again, this is one of the things, and I'm going to, that's really important. So we get into business attraction. I called this Arizona Commerce Authority. And this is no one's fault, don't get me wrong. And I asked the people that are in charge of business attraction, I said, hey, Matt, I'm from Prescott. You guys know me. Go, hey, Jim, how you doing? I said, here's my question. You have companies coming to you all the time. He goes, yep. I said, other than the Valley or Southern Arizona, if somebody wants to come to Northern Arizona, if they want to come to Prescott, what do you tell them? What do you give them? Dead silence. He goes, we don't have anything. I said, so you don't have anything for Northern Arizona, for Prescott, Arizona, for business attraction. You don't have a document that you can send them and tell them why they want to be here with our workforce and everything. He goes, not really. I said, okay. I said, there were 9,000 new tech jobs in the Valley last year. Do you think we'd like some of those with our 4 colleges and universities? I mean, could we work something out here where maybe you're going to help us? Sure. We, as a community, have to interface with the rest of Arizona to get them to understand who we are. And that's really what I've been working on with the Commerce Authority, with Sandra Watson. And I'm going to get into the good stuff in 2 seconds. But my point is, these fundamentals of our foundation that we should have, that's what we're trying to put together. That's really what we need, because we want these jobs. It was like when the governor was here, and I was really glad to see him. And the first thing out of his thing, and we want it. We want tourism, we want construction, and we want retail. He goes, "Hey, I'm going to get more money for tourism, and I'm going to give Yavapai College $750,000." The reason I was raising my hand, I go, "Can we talk about jobs?" Well, I got him on the way out, and I said, "Excuse me." I said, "I work with the Commerce Authority with Sandra Watson. We'd like to have some good jobs." He goes, you know, okay, guys, we have 4 colleges and universities and blah, blah, blah. He goes, I'll get with Sandra and I'll talk to her. And that was when he was walking out the door. So next slide, please. So if we look at this, one of the things we started was we didn't have an organization that could come together for us in northern Arizona. And let me give you an example. If you look at the Arizona Technology Council, they have almost 900 members. They have 600 in the valley. They have 277 in southern Arizona and Tucson. Northern Arizona, I'm going all the way up to Flagstaff. There's 7. So what we discovered is, and I went to different technology councils around the country, and what happens is once you get out of the mainstay of a Seattle or a San Francisco or Chicago or New York, as you go out to the rural areas, they don't really participate. They don't do anything for them. So what we did is I got the local tech guys in town to come together, and we started the Northern Arizona Technology Alliance with the blessing of the Arizona Technology Council of how we can work together. So small businesses in tech, we can help get them insurance through the Tech Council. So we can come up with different benefits through the Tech Council, through the Northern Arizona Technology Alliance to interface with that with our colleges and universities. Now I'm going to go into the Tech Incubation and Innovation Center. I'm going to cut this short. I'm not going to do all the slides, but I will show you something. And this is something that I'm most proud of. If I had it, it's in my briefcase. This, finally, Regional Economic Development Center, our tech center, our center for the future, our innovation and startup center. And guess what? On the inside of this, which I will send to everybody, it is signed by Lisa Ryan, president of Yavapai College, and Annette Carlson, chancellor of Embry-Riddle. This document that we're going to go out, and Yavapai and Embry-Riddle are working together. And we will have our center. Thank God. As you know, Frank Ayers last year stood up here and said, "I'm going to create the Center for the Future." And when Frank left, it kind of fizzled. So we've been working on this forever. This will be our home for technology, for startups, for business with mentors. This will house the Northern Arizona Technology Alliance, the Cyber Warfare Range. This will house Embry-Riddle's innovation and startup with Annette Carlson's blessing. Real fast. I met with Annette Carlson, her business community. They work on so many different international and local clients. Right now they have 5 clients that they're working with from Norway, 2 from Finland, and 1 from Switzerland. They all want to put their U.S. headquarters in Prescott. I have Annette Carlson, Kathy Lustig, who's the vice chancellor, the head of the business, and John Haas that are going to help us. And she looked at these people and pointed to them and said, "We will have good jobs here, and we are going to help the city of Prescott, and we're going to have more innovation and entrepreneurship in our programs." To me, that was a dream come true. And now to watch Yavapai and Embry-Riddle work together. And the last thing, and I'll get into this, and this is more important than the slides. I have been talking about a cyber warfare range for so long. It's people, I think they just run away when I say it now. Well, I got Yavapai College and Dr. John Haas, who's the dean of the College of Security and Intelligence at Embry-Riddle. He has been working with Yavapai College. We have a home. Yavapai College has given us 1,000 square feet, so we will be starting the cyber warfare range, and that will be located, if you're into the library and the big community room downstairs where we usually have all the events. If you go above those big classrooms up there, they're about 1,000 square feet. The cyber warfare range will be located in there. John Haas is moving all the servers over, and it will be open on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now, why is this important and who cares? Because there's 500,000 cyber jobs in the United States right now. The point is that the cyber program at Embry-Riddle is so sophisticated. It's a undergraduate master's, and then they're going to go to a doctorate. The problem is right now, if you go to Google, if you've got any training at all, and you know anything about cyber, even from high school, they'll hire you. So the point is for this cyber warfare range is our kids from middle school, our high schoolers can go there and start to get in programs with Yavapai, which will now have certification and an AA program. Then you can go from there to Embry-Riddle or an ASU. On that track, one last positive thing. Arizona State University, W.P. Carey School of Business. I have been in contact with their cyber people and the department chair of the W.P. Carey School. They are coming up here to work with Embry-Riddle to put a program together in cyber with Embry-Riddle. So the cyber warfare range will be there. We actually, you've heard me talk about a GSOC, which is a Global Security Operations Center, which, because our airport at the point in time when I was working on this, it didn't, when Great Lakes went out of business, and I had the people here and they said, Jim, this is great, man, really like it here. I'm not gonna take a bus to Phoenix. Thank you for the airport, God bless you, because this is gonna really help from a business perspective. And so our GSOC is opened up. We just finished a contract with the state legislature of California. And we are now looking at Lockheed to sponsor our cyber warfare range. We're looking at Boeing, Amazon, and Microsoft to help with our GSOC. So I have slides that can go on forever, but I wanted to say at the end of the day, we have started our foundation that's going to create these 300 jobs. My goal is to put the foundation in place so that we can have people that can carry on, and there's 50 of us as opposed to just me. That's really what I'm after, is finishing off the foundation, making sure that we have that done, and that we can create at least 300 good paying jobs with average salary of $85,000. That's my goal.
And timeline on the
Cyber warfare range, we're hoping that to open up around May 1st.
Okay.
And then I'll have more details. I really want to put the tech center, I really would like to put that out by the airport. So I was going to talk to Dr. Ascari, and I'm also talking to Embry-Riddle on that 17 acres that's across the street next to his. And there's been some movement that I might be able to pick up 5 acres to put the center out there, which I thought would be really cool.
Okay, very good. We have some comments or questions, and Councilman Good.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and congratulations, Jim. I know it's a long-term effort, and at least having all of the stakeholders working together, collaborating, cooperating, and then getting the message out is taking a lot of effort, and especially when you're talking about a collaborative new technology community, being able to convince some of the movers and shakers, so to speak, into that group takes a lot of marketing, a lot of meetings, a lot of communication, and now that we've got the Arizona Tech Council cooperating with us, I think we can start getting some things moving. I know
Oh, can I interject one thing, if you please? The last thing that I didn't bring up is called if you're down in the valley, they hold an innovation technology summit. And when I was down there, there's a new person for the Arizona Commerce Authority that reports to Senator Watson. His name is Andy Lombard. He's the Executive Vice President of Innovation and Venture Development. You aren't going to believe this. So this guy's the number 2 guy at the Arizona Commerce Authority. Had never been up here.
Right.
I brought him to Embry-Riddle. You know what he said to me? He goes, Jim, we need to put on an event here. So Embry-Riddle and our area, we will have an innovation competition in the fall, and we're going to do a pilot, but it will, the Commerce Authority is putting up $250,000, and a gentleman by the name of Tim Crown. And Tim Crown is in the Valley. Tim has a little tiny company called Insight, which is $16 billion. He's the guy, Crown Investments, that funds everything at SkySong out of Arizona State University. I had Tim Crown up here. He says, Jim, this is fabulous. He goes, I'll match whatever the Commerce Authority does. So our little event will have a $500,000 in competition prize money. And we're going to hold that here. And what I want to do is expand that into being a national tech event.
Is that in the fall?
Yes.
Of
September.
2020?
Here's what I'd like to do. You guys will love this. I'd like to have the awards ceremony for that around Wings Out West,
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
which would be really cool because all the alumni for Embry-Riddle are here.
Sure.
And I did want to clarify, I know some people are concerned about the word warfare.
Oh,
But
okay.
for most people to understand that when you have cyber attacks on different infrastructure, when you have databases being attacked, even from communities and organizations like Equifax, which is supposed to be protecting all of your personal information when it comes to finances, being able to have a team that is able to defend and then try to attack a system is what these talented young people are going to be involved in. So when you're talking about degrees in cybersecurity, these kind of efforts and activities really are able to identify those young people that really have a talent here. And then as those talented people are recognized, either they can move forward with degrees that I even heard of one student who took one class out at Embry-Riddle
Yeah.
and then was recruited because they had at least some basic understanding.
And she went to American Express. Do you want to know what her salary was? $175.
Boy, that's a good.
Before she graduated, she took one class in cyber.
Good return.
So
I'm going to take a cyber class tomorrow.
That's right.
By the way, that is our cyber warfare range here will be connected to Australia Community College and Mesa Community College, so the attack and defend will be between the three.
Right. So this is what it takes to especially get something moving, and you're complimenting people that take the effort to get startups going of any sort, but trying to create an awareness of what the true value is with our universities, with specifically John Haas's program out there is so important. I know I think it was last summer where you put together that event at the Hacienda.
Yep.
And I
And
was.
that will be August this year, too. So that's the Arizona Technology Council CEO Leadership Conference. So we'll have 75 to 100 CEOs here. The difference is this time, they're going to have ammunition to put their companies up here, not just play
A
golf.
number of them, they said, why didn't I know about this place? And I said, well, you didn't know about it now. And I said, I did wear a sport coat in the evening because we're 20 degrees cooler than Phoenix. So that
I like
made an
that.
impression, didn't it? So thank you for your efforts, Jim.
Well, no, and again,
Thank
to
you,
all of you,
Councilman.
thank you for your support. I love what I do.
Councilman Shiska.
Oh, thank you, Mayor.
You're
Pro
welcome.
Tem. Jim, could you explain to people cyber?
I'll give you probably heard about ransomware. You've probably heard about being hacked. So let me give you a perfect example that we can all relate to. Because what happens is a lot of people in small businesses and medium-sized businesses, or you hear about the individual hacking, you hear about Equifax, you hear about these things. Flagstaff school system was ransomed, and they had to pay to get it back. So you talk about hitting locally, and usually what happens is they'll go in and attack you, these small, medium-sized businesses, and ask for 25 or 50 grand, and they hold your data hostage until you pay, and if you don't pay, they just destroy it. So you have nothing. You have to start over from scratch. and there's Fortune 50 and Fortune 100 companies that have actually had not paid, and they got hurt really bad. So if we take a look at this, the world that we talk about in cyber, and you hear it in the political arena of Russia or China. I know we worry about a war. I worry about a cyber war and how advanced these other countries are. And just to give an example, about 3 weeks ago, held at Embry-Riddle, from Washington, D.C., FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Association. Well, Billy, you were there.
There, yeah.
You were there at the event. And we had experts from cyber, and what they're worried about is rural, even more than major cities, because it's easier to attack and try and get in. And as Billy said, so we had people there from Chino, Dewey Humboldt, Prescott Valley, and Prescott. But this cyber is so pronounced within companies for individuals. That's why you're seeing there's 500,000 jobs open. And like you said, this one young lady at American Express took one class and they hired her for $175,000 out of Embry-Riddle. And so when we look at that, this opportunity for the 21st century, those are the types of jobs that are coming up. And we have probably Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University College of Security Intelligence is world renowned for their cybersecurity program.
Yeah, I think we would all agree we're really blessed to have Embry-Riddle and Yavapai College and Prescott College. They all have their niche, right? So.
And they do. And Yavapai College they have programs in cyber software development, and their drone programs are excellent, and they're really coming along.
So, Jim, we need to move on.
Yep.
Excuse me.
I can go on for another 2 hours, Billy. I mean,
I know you could, Jim. That's why I'm
Right.
saying we need to move on. Sorry about
Okay.
that. So, I'm sorry I didn't talk about public response. Do we have anyone that would like
Not
to?
for this item, no.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So we will. Could I please have a motion?
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve city contract number 2017-260A6.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 6-0.
Great, very good. Jim, thank you for all the work you do for Prescott. We really appreciate it, and the region. I know everyone appreciates that. So now we will move on to item E.
Potential allocation of open space funds in an amount not to exceed $1.8 million for property in and around the Granite Dells and in support of HB 2284. This item was requested by Councilmember Roosing and Councilman Good. We have a brief amount of information from staff on this, but as it was not a staff originated item, we don't have a specific recommendation for council and minimal information outside of discussion and potential action.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. I just wanted to start off just briefly with some things that we've done in the past in and around the Granite Dells, starting with the Willow Watson Lake purchase in 1998, and kind of with the implementation of the streets and open space tax in 2000. You can see there was some fairly significant properties that had been acquired from previous councils, totaling about 1,634 acres just in the Dells. Doesn't include the Piedmont Trail or Watson Woods. When you throw those two in there, Watson Woods is 126 acres, and the Piedmont Trail would make it about 1,900 acres. So there have been significant acquisitions of open space in the Granite Dells. One of the things that we look to in the future is connecting those open spaces through linear parks or trails that will connect our trail system all the way around and connect those open space systems within, so that we gain more value with those open spaces. So really, I just kind of wanted to show that there and let council lead the discussion.
I have a question, Joe. Back in the day when the railroad went away from the city of Prescott and rails across America and rails to trails, do you have a specific acre amount and a dollar amount that we purchased all of that infrastructure with? I've never seen it put down in writing, but certainly it's worth everybody knowing what the value that began the city of Prescott's ecotourism with that purchase.
Councilman Blair, that is a national recreation trail. There was a lot of federal money, some grant monies that went into acquiring those properties that were the Peavine Trail, the old railroad grade, over the years. And that was right around 1998, 1995 to 1998. So all that work began about then.
But is there any way to put a dollar amount on that?
I could go back and research the grant amounts that were applied for. I want to, off the top of my head, Councilman Blair, I want to say it's probably close to $2 million. I think one was 1.3 million, and then there was another one. So I'm guessing around there, but I can certainly pull it.
Yeah, and what I would like to see, because I think it's all valuable stuff, because it shows a track progression of how we've got to where we're at today. So if you could add that into this list of everything that we have acquired when it comes to passive and any kind of open space that we've received since, say, 1998. So what you're looking at is about 21, 22 years.
I can do that.
Thank you. Any other questions? Comments?
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
We have approximately $1.8 million left in the Open Space Streets Fund. But I wanted to clarify that we are not actually committing that entire amount to this support of House Bill 2284. We don't know yet whether this will pass, whether it's going to be amended, whether it's going to be approved, whether it's going to be appropriated for funds, and whether the governor is going to support its allocation. So there's a lot of ifs here. And primarily what we're trying to do is to let the legislature know that this community is serious about trying to create such a potential park. But I want to make sure that they don't realize overall that we've made a specific commitment of a specific amount. I think the display and the history of the allocation of open space that the city has done over time sends a pretty strong message to the legislature that we value the quality of open space, and when it's appropriate and we have the funding for it, we do our best to try to preserve that and make it accessible to the public. So I just want to make sure that it's not interpreted to mean that the entire remaining open space fund is going to be committed to this effort. It could be some, it could be partial amount. It all depends on a lot of ifs, as I said, in this legislative action that will occur sometime in the next 42 some days until the legislature, the session ends, right? Am I correct on that, Joe?
You are correct.
We also are in the process of looking to do some more connectivity with the trail system that you've done such a great job on. And some of those are going to require easement purchases over periods of time that also are very appropriate for the use of the remaining funds in this account.
Councilman Good and Mayor Pro Tem and Council, we're constantly in negotiation on trail easements. We obviously try first, to get donated lands or negotiate easements, but there's oftentimes that it's a real estate purchase, and we're constantly in negotiations on those.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you. Councilman Blair, thank you for your help. Councilmember Rusing.
Thank you. I want to thank Mr. Baines and the Parks and Rec Department for all their hard work and commitment to our community and our open space and trails and parks. It's truly what's made our community so unique and such a wonderful attraction. I agree, we have 1.8 million open space funds left over from the open space tax, which was initiated in the year 2000. I remember voting for that. And I am thrilled and honored to be up here, being able to make decisions about that money. And I agree with Mr. Baines. He's looking forward to the future, and we may have future trail easements and purchases in part of planning. And so I agree that maybe not the whole 1.8 million should be committed, but I think that we should deliver a message to the state that we do have 1.5 available to commit. Thank you.
Councilwoman Shull.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Joe, is there maybe a recommended amount that you would like to see left in that open space fund for potential real estate purchases or leases?
Councilwoman Scholl, it would be nice to have about 300,000 available for those purchases.
Okay. Yeah, I think that it would probably be prudent to not say that we're going to allocate potentially all of that money, given that we do need about $300,000. So I would support saying that we would potentially allocate up to 1.5, understanding that that's the most we would spend, and that we would not necessarily spend all of that, depending on how negotiations with landowners go and what's available and what we truly need for this project.
Great. Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Shiska.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. You know, for years, we've looked at this open space fund and tried to allocate funds to buy the most appropriate open space. So it seems as though the most appropriate open space for several years now has been in the Dells. So I don't have any problem allocating whatever we need to buy open space in the Dells with the remaining $1.8 million. But I don't want to overspend. And that's pretty typically what happens when you say, I've got this much to spend. Well, somebody finds a way to spend that. So I'm not sure that we need to specify an amount, but I think that we need to commit ourselves to spending the appropriate amount for open space in the Dells.
Thank you, Councilman Shiska. Councilman Blair.
Yeah, are we looking to make a motion, or are we just counting numbers, or what are we doing?
Well, we have
I
an
wasn't
item.
totally clear on it.
We have an item that actually says up to
Okay,
an amount.
I like the verbiage, and I would agree that it should be changed to up to 1.5 million, and it needs to be clear, because it seemingly wasn't clear to some people on the open space road money, where it said up to. So this is going to be clarified as up to 1.5 million, and I would support that. Great.
And I'd just like to recognize Councilman Blair, who started this effort as far as working with the legislature many months ago, and appreciate your work on that, Steve.
I appreciate that. You know, it's been, I hate to say a history lesson, but go back to 1998, 1997, when we first purchased Watson and Willow Lake, started this whole thing, and purchased the rails to trails, where we started to become known as an economic green mecca, and it's gone ever since then. And I think at that point in time, you know, Jim Lamerson, thank him for his work in the past, because we had an opportunity for the council at the time to put together a list of things that were important to this community. And I can remember community development staff standing on the corner of Cortez and right here by City Hall, looking up saying, the first thing we need to save is our vistas. We need to save Thumb Butte. We need to save all these different highlined areas. So everybody had an opinion of what they wanted to save from a neighborhood park that was an acre or a bunch of boulders up on Thumb Butte. And it became very apparent that nobody had Granite Dells on either one of those lists. And the bottom line to it is, Jim Lamerson and myself thought it was very important to have something as iconic as the Granite Dells. And speaking of which, I was in Sedona over the weekend. And I'm going to tell you, Sedona's rocks and the colors and the things that are over there are just as iconic, but there's nothing like it here. So I guess for a long history story, we've come a long ways. We've done quite a lot, and I hope it continues with annexations. I hope it continues with folks like Dr. Scari that step up and donate 25% of his land, which is very beautiful as well. So I think we've done a good job, and I look forward to continuing that.
Well, we really have, and Councilman Shiska and I were, when we came on council, then we got back and looked at some of the open space, and we were able to support that as well. So I just think this has just been an amazing council over the last 20 years. Folks that have committed to this city, doing what they can to preserve what we want to preserve in our city. So I just think we owe accolades to all of the councils before us. We've said often, we often stand on the shoulders of giants. So, Joe, I'd like to go to the public. Are any other comments from council
Mayor
folks?
Pro Tem, if I may, I just
Sure.
put up the House Bill 2284 on the screen so
Okay,
people
please
can
go
read
ahead,
it.
Matt.
It's already up there now. I'll just read into the record
Sure.
because it's an exercise in legislative thrift. I've never seen a one-sentence piece of legislation in my life. But it says the sum of $5.3 million is appropriated from the State General Fund in fiscal year 2020 to 2021 to the Arizona State Parks Board to distribute to the city of Prescott to purchase property to establish a regional park in Yavapai County. And that's kind of what's driving the conversation today.
Thank you.
Incidentally, the director of Arizona State Parks supports this venture wholeheartedly.
Thank you. Councilwoman Show.
Yeah, I think it's also important to note that our allocation of up to $1.5 million is contingent upon the passage of,
Thank you.
of this bill.
Very important that we state that, so I appreciate that. Anyone else from council? Yes, Councilmember Rusing.
And as we all know, time is of the essence because the bill is being advanced and they're working on their budget right now as we speak. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Sarah, do we have comments from the
We
public?
do. We have 4 cards. The first one is from Jovita Fine.
Hello, Javita. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
Thank you for being here.
Mayor Pro Tem and council members. I'm just here representing a group that we have started at Sacred Heart Church. It's called Care for the Earth. And one of our members today is personally delivering 63 signed letters in support of House Bill 2284. And we're just here to say that we are in full support of that and full support of whatever you will be able to add to that for purchase of land in the Dells.
Great. Thank you, Javita.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amber Fields.
Good afternoon, Amber.
Hello, thank you for letting me speak today. I just want to thank you all for considering making this statement because it's really important to the passage of HB 2284. Save the Dells has been at the state capitol advocating for this bill many days over the last month, and we've been working closely with Noel Campbell to get this passed. So we're appreciative that you all are making this statement. I do encourage you absolutely to use the language saying that you will contribute $1.5 million. I think potentially saying up to is prohibitive, but I understand that's your decision. From my understanding, the landowners have not accepted the current offer, and so I think that it's important that you guys realize that the state might not designate the full 5.3 million. It's likely that they'll come back with a lower figure, so the 1.5 is going to be really important. Save the Dells absolutely supports putting some aside for some trail easements for Parks and Rec to be able to have that flexibility. We think that's a good idea. And just as far as this being an important priority area to be purchasing, I mean, you all know the value of the Dells. The community has made it very clear over the last few years that they support this action. But the city's open space master plan, many of those priority areas are in and around the Granite Dells, so this goes right in line with your guys' guiding documents. So thank you.
Thank you, Amber.
Thanks, Amber.
Tom Rusing.
Good afternoon, Tom.
Good afternoon. Tom Rusing, Prescott, Arizona. So, as Amber just said, Save the Dells and the community have been down at the Capitol working hard on this, supporting Noel Campbell, who is really working hard. And we really pushed to get it through the Land and Ag Committee and the Appropriations Committee. But then the realization also came to us that from getting to know the process down there, that the real decisions are being made right now in smaller rooms with a small group of people, and that's really who we're going to have to influence. So I would encourage, and let me digress just a little, Mr. Robb gave an excellent presentation, but the thing that also attracts those businesses here is not just Embry-Riddle or Yavapai College or Prescott College. It's also our downtown, it's also our open space and our wonderful environment. So I think that this kind of regional park, Central Park, is very attractive to people that are coming here, just like other people stated they wanted to live in a place like this. And it's not just because of it's because of all of those things, but the open space, quality open space, the Dells is a big part of that. I'm just going to list the people that I would encourage the council to communicate directly with, not just by email, but at least by telephone. These are the 6 people that we're aware of that are in those rooms making these decisions. And so Karen Fan, President of the Senate, who's a co-sponsor, will be there. Regina Cobb, who's the Appropriations Chair in the House. Senator Gowan, who's the Chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee. Rusty Bowers, the Speaker of the House. Representative Kavanaugh, who's the Vice Chairman of the House Appropriations Committee, and then Vince Leach, who's the Vice Chair of the Senate. And the other person is Steve Pierce. He has a lot of sway down there. He's also a co-sponsor, but all of those people really have to be on board going to bat for us. This is potentially a lot of money. We know we got $10 million for the airport. This is half that. This is a lot of money potentially on the table, and I think if the mayor and council can contact those people, that we heard it over and over, that personal contact makes a big difference, and support from the city makes a big difference. The long history is important, as many people alluded to. So I would encourage everybody to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks.
Incidentally, Mayor Pro Tem, all those phone numbers are on your desks in the League of Cities phone book of all our representatives.
Great.
Paula Burr.
Good afternoon, Paula.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and members of council. We really do, as Amber and Tom have said, strongly support the council, encourage the council to support HB 2284 by allocating a substantial, and $1.5 million is a substantial amount of funds to purchase the land in the Dells for a regional park and preserve. As both Amber and Tom alluded to, we have been working very hard to promote this legislation. We spent 5 days down at the Capitol speaking to just about every representative on in the House Land and Agriculture Committee, as well as the Appropriations Committee. We testified at their hearings. We met with House and Senate majority and minority leaders, as well as representative from the governor's office. We explained to them how a regional park and preserve not only benefited our local economy, but the entire state through increased sales tax collection and continued promotion of Arizona as a world-class ecotourism destination. Our supporters rallied at the Capitol and have sent handwritten letters to the legislators asking for their support of the bill. In our dozens of meetings, we highlighted Prescott's past open space acquisitions and praised its dedicated staff and committed volunteers for their ability to maintain and support that open space. By allocating these open space funds to acquisitions in the Dells, the council will be demonstrating to the state that they too are committed to it. And we heard that over and over again in our personal meetings, that was very important. Is your city supporting this, or do they have money to put forward to this? So it really will make a big impression. HB 2284 represents an incredible economic opportunity for Prescott. To get that kind of money, or even a portion of that money from the state, would be just an incredible boost to not only Prescott but the entire region. So, as Councilwoman Rusing said, time is of the essence because they're trying to have a shortened legislative session. So, anything we can do to speed this along, to get this passed now, personal phone calls and contacts. I saw in the paper that Councilman Blair sent a letter to Representative Campbell. All of those things will help, and especially the personal phone calls to let them know that you support this, that we have the ability to use those monies well, and we have a proven track record of supporting our open space. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Paula.
That's all.
That's it? Okay, very good. So, Joe, do you have anything else that you'd like to speak toward about this?
No, not unless there's any other questions.
Council members? Okay, so I think it's important when I look at this language, I think Councilwoman Scholl mentioned something that I think is important, and that's the contingency part of this. So I don't believe that's actually in the language.
Does she have some language she'd like to?
Do you want me to make the motion?
Please, yes.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve an allocation of up to $1.5 million in open space funds towards the purchase of property in and around the Granite Dells, contingent upon the passage of HB 2284.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Please vote. Yes, go ahead, Matt.
Something struck my ear. Maybe contingent upon HB 2284 becoming law.
Contingent upon HB 2284 becoming law.
Right.
Second.
So Matt, so if it passes at whatever level, we're committing up to, but we still can decide how much of.
That's what the up to 1.5
Okay,
million
all right.
means. My
Just-
my point was that this thing is subject to potential veto.
Absolutely.
So when I say become law, then it's an effective law that meets all the constitutional requirements and of a law becoming law. Versus, I think the language Councilwoman Scholl used was HB
Passing.
for passing. That could be interpreted as passing out of the next committee, as passing before the government.
Right.
Sorry,
And-
it is lawyer lingo. Sorry.
And then we still have to decide within how much of the 1.5, but up to.
It's up to 1.5.
We still
and
have that
and
decision
I
making.
suppose at that point it'll come back to the council
Got it.
for
Perfect.
a more formal decision, either through the budget our budget appropriation process, or some other letter of agreement.
Very good. So we have a motion, we have a second, and please vote.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here. All right, now we move on to item F.
Approval of city contract number 2020-167 with Motorola for the purchase of police department handheld radios in an amount not to exceed $367,000.
Mayor Pro Tem Orr and the council, Nate Keegan with the IT department. And what you have before you today is 106 Motorola handheld radios for the Prescott Police Department. Not just radios, there's radios and batteries and chargers and software. There's a couple ways I could go into detail, not go into detail. We have people, including Chief Black, Lieutenant Brambilla, lots of people from the police department. So by your leave, go ahead and entertain questions or comments and go from there.
All right, very good. Question, comments. I will start with Councilman Blair.
You're looking pretty snazzy up there.
Thank you.
You know, again, it goes back a long ways when I think when we were Chief Leipold at the time was putting together the regional dispatch center and all the towers and all the dead spots that we had. And it seems to me, remembering in the past and using Motorola and putting together the regional dispatch center, we wanted to make sure that all of our participants and all of our public safety folks were safe, and the best way to do that was have the best possible communication.
Absolutely.
Over that period of time, I've seen the dispatch center change equipment and upgrade and make sure that all these things were compatible for our public safety officers as well as the fire department. I've seen in the past as well some of the bill of goods that our IT department has been sold, nothing personal to you, but some of the things that we've done with our internet and some of the things that we were promised that have failed. So I'm proud to say that Motorola, even though I hate to say a single source bidder sometimes, but I also look at understanding fire trucks and police equipment have to be compatible. And for us to go out and buy one kind of fire truck and then go buy a different kind, they're not compatible in parts or maintenance or anything else. So I think the unique part about what we have is compatibility and to be able to have reliability on the Motorola systems. So I just wanted to state thank you for bringing this forward. And I want to know from you if these Motorola handhelds are still the state of the art that interface with our regional dispatch center to make the officers in the car safe.
They are, and if you look at radios, they're not the same as like a cell phone, right? We're talking public safety radios, which really narrows the field of people that make radios down to 3 names in the United States. There's nobody else. Why are these radios not inexpensive? Well, it's because they're used in harsh environment, 24/7, years and years and years of service, where if I gave a non-public safety grade radio to somebody, we would just be buying and replacing radios constantly. It's the same thing we do with like laptops in the police and fire vehicles. I could take one of those laptops, throw it across the room, pick it up and walk out and use it. If I take a Dell laptop that's not like that and do that, I got myself a nice doorstop.
When were the last times these were replaced? How many years have we gotten the service of the existing?
I would say the radios we have currently range anywhere from 8 to 12 to 14 years old. We've gotten everything out of them we can. And our drive here is a partnership with the police department. As an IT dork guy, cyber guy, there's a technical level of radio we're going to get. But I don't do police work. So we have to make sure as a partnership there with the police department to know, look, there's only so many tools that can do what you need to do. We all got to agree what you need, what works, what doesn't work, and then make sure we maintain compatibility in our region, because it's not just Prescott, as you pointed out. It's Prescott, CAFMA, YCSO. It's a whole ecosystem of people, and they all got to be able to work together seamlessly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nate. Councilman Good.
Thank you. Thank you, Nate. Yeah, primarily those were the concerns I had. I wanted to make sure that we're accessing a quality contract so that we've got the best prices not only for the radios themselves but for all the accessories that go along with it, and that we would have compatibility when we're dealing with emergency situations and we're dealing with various local overlapping agencies so that we can communicate. And I know there's been a number of emergencies around the country where and even in our military, we couldn't talk to each other because of different frequencies or incompatible systems. So I think you've confirmed, and Councilman Blair stated my primary concerns. So coming from you, Nate, and your team, and coordinating with the police department to make sure it's the right product that'll do what it's expected to do, it'll hold up and be effective for the expected life of the product, including probably the primary supplier, which is Motorola, in the system over the long run, are all very important check marks that we have to make. So I support it.
Very good. Thank you, Councilman Good. Any other comments from council? Could I have a motion?
Mayor, I move to approve city contract number 2020-167.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 6-0.
Excellent. Very good. So appreciate everyone being here today. It's been a good meeting. Lots of community participation. I would like to recognize our new deputy city clerk, Michelle Shaw, who's in the audience with us. And Michelle, welcome to the city. We look forward to working with you, so thank you for being here.
Incidentally, she is the daughter of Dan Main, past mayor of Chino Valley, Arizona.
And she's also the daughter of Cheryl Main, who helps run our board at Big Brothers Big Sisters, and she's awesome. So, Michelle, thank you for coming. Happy to have you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, so we're out of here. Thank you.
We were waiting for some kind of verbiage.